What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Jim and Chris from Human Impact. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So great to have you here. So, your self-titled album, which came out on the 13th of March of this year, do you just want to talk about like how the making of this record was in terms of the songwriting, the recording, and all that fun stuff?
Chris, you want to take it?
I was waiting for you.
That's how it always goes whenever I interview two people on the phone.
Jim came up to me at an Unsane show right towards the end of that band and asked me if I wanted to do some stuff. And we started sending shit back and forth, just working out ideas via the internet. After a while, we got a bunch of crap together, and then he brought in Phil and Chris P. And we started working with those guys, writing some stuff with them in the studio, and then also writing stuff at our own places. We both kind of have home studio setups. So basically it's been like, I think four or five different sessions with everybody working together. But then a lot of the prep work has been done at our home studios.
Mm-hmm. I'd imagine working in your own home studio has got to make it a little bit easier, right? Because you're kind of in your own element. And
oh, totally. It's great. It's great. You can spend the time to actually really hone the ideas, you know? It's not just like, go, you know, and record immediately. So
yeah,
it takes a little time.
Chris and I have also, we've known each other since, way back when, and kind of wanted to be making some music for years. It's just taken this long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and Jim were friends like before Unsane or Cop Shoot Cop really were getting off the ground.
Yeah, well, that's kind of led me into my next question, because was the original intention of Human Impact to combine elements of Unsane, Cop Shoot Cop, and Swans and everything together into one, or did you guys want to do something that you never really did before?
Well, I think we're working within a known, genre or type of music that's familiar, but at the same time, it's like totally new for us. It's like working together. It's the power of that collaboration where, the sum is greater than the parts. And heading into it, we didn't really know what it was going to be at all. We kind of went in really blind and just kind of, let it organically become what it was.
Yeah. Well, I thought that this record was you mentioned familiar sound. I thought it was very familiar but fresh at the same time, because I thought a song like November was very different from a song like Protester, which is very different from a song like Respirator and Cause and all that. Is it fair to say that you guys wanted to maybe experiment a little bit with the songwriting, or was there maybe a preconceived idea that the making of this record was?
No, there was no preconceived idea at all. Actually, after being in Unsane for so long, it was really amazing to start working with Jim, and he has just thousands of, he has this huge arsenal of alternate sounds to work with, which for me was really super refreshing after being in a three-piece forever, which I liked doing, but this really opened a whole new world for me.
Mm-hmm. Being in different projects and starting something new, and this could be for both of you, is there a similar mind frame depending on the projects that you're working with, or is it a completely separate art? Each project calls for a new approach despite bringing the same brain to everything.
For me, it's very different. Since Cop Shoot Cop kind of self-imploded, I've done electronic stuff, ambient stuff, a bunch of different soundtracks, and it's all very very different. I think for me, I got to a point where I kind of felt like I knew how to make music in a certain way, especially electronic stuff, and I wanted to kind of just totally blow that up and do something I hadn't done before, and I made this ambient record, which was very different than anything I've done before or since. The approach to Human Impact, again, it wasn't we had no preconceived idea of what it was we were making, but I think it definitely is branded with both of our kind of our collective DNA, if that makes sense.
Definitely, because I was able, I think people who did Cop Shoots Cop and Swans and Unsane could appreciate this album, but I do think that it is almost like a new era for you guys as musicians. You may have discovered something new about yourself with forming a new project, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
When it comes to you know, the whole songwriting approach to it. Like, do you guys have to kind of like put yourself in a certain element in order for ideas to come through, or do you just like think of ideas or like experiment just out of the blue sometimes?
No, I mean, no. I mean, for example, quarantine has been awesome. Like, I just sit around and I'm writing a different song or the beginnings of a song every day. So I kind of set the goal to just write something new every day, and then I send them to Jim, and he tells me if it's really horrible or if it's good. So it's really working out. I just like cough up as much crap as I possibly can, and we see what sticks. You know.
Yeah, somehow Chris and I are continually kicking ideas back and forth and making new songs. We've since the record's out, we're just finishing like the mastering on 4 new tracks, and are continuing to continuing to make music. You know, I think no matter what happens, it's just we keep on doing it.
Yeah, you're both right. Quarantine has been pretty awesome for people who are creating. I just see a lot of amazing new albums coming out next year.
Yeah. It's a lot of time to work.
Yeah. Now, you know, like one thing I was like curious about is there also like, because I feel like, you know, your music has always had, whether I'm listening to Unsane or Cop Shoot Cop or anything like that, it almost seems like, you know, the message was just as important as like the composition as well. Are you invoking maybe like a similar message as you guys did in your previous projects, or are you expressing something very new about yourself as well?
I mean, I think personally, lyrically, with the Human Impact stuff, I try to think less about me and more about us. Sort of on a global level, you know, kind of like just one guy kind of looking at all the crazy crap going on around him, kind of thing, but trying not to get too just me, you know, just kind of. Like Unsane, a lot of it was like, things are fucked up, this is fucked up, you know. It was more sort of expression of my own personal issues. You know, this is more, for me anyway, it's more about what's going on around me, you know, as opposed to just me, you know. So I've kind of really tried to be conscious of that.
Yeah, I feel that Human Impact kind of across the board. I mean, it's really rooted in the lyrics, but, you know, it's kind of even weight to like just, you know, the music and the whole kind of sonic weight of it. And also in, you know, the kind of visual approach to, you know, the artwork, videos, all that stuff. It seems kind of, you know, cohesive, but it's like a, you know, a voice, you know, reflecting where we are politically, socially, psychologically, emotionally, you know, and I feel like, you know, it's just something again, it's not anything that we plan to do, it's just kind of what happened, you know, but I do feel like people everyone we've talked to inherently kind of gets it and understands it.
Yeah, well, that kind of led me to my next question, because when it comes to like lyrics and stuff, I mean, I think you kind of in a way just answered it, but like I'd imagine that like are lyrics usually secondary, or could a conceptual element also determine the music itself?
No, I think the lyrics in this band anyway, like with Unsane it was a little different. Like I would add lyrics later a lot. There's definitely a preconceived idea of sort of conceptually what is this about? You know, what sonically and lyrically, what am I trying to accomplish here? Mm-hmm. So there's a little more, you know, there's a lot more. Just more focus on lyrical quality. And again, I got all the time in the world sitting around in my house, so I can really, you know, focus in on it.
Yeah. Is the music for Human Impact open to interpretation, or are you guys like maybe trying to engage the listener into like maybe seeing things from your points of view?
Huh. Jim?
I feel like any music or any kind of creative work is always going to be open to interpretation. You know, we're coming from our particular perspective, so what it means to us isn't going to be the same as you know, it's going to have a different meaning to somebody who has different life experiences and different kind of perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd imagine, you try to, and like, it's one thing to have a message behind your songs, but sometimes if you're kind of like so hell-bent on people seeing it, you'll always be disappointed and drive yourself crazy. Right?
Yeah, right.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
But then there are, I think, some sort of universal ideas and, things that we all deal with that are also kind of covered in there. So it kind of goes, can work both ways, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I went to an art school, and like somebody put a banana on a pedestal one time and gave a whole deep meaning behind it, and I said, "Wow, that's a nice banana right there." And they're like, "It's not a banana," but like, so.
And now that just happened down in Miami, right at the at that art fair where somebody just duct taped it to the wall, and it's it was sold for some
like $150,000 or something. Yeah,
I don't know. The only thing I remember from the art fair in Miami is that somebody was getting stabbed in public, and nobody did it. Everybody just surrounded and watched it because they thought it was performance art, but it was actually somebody getting stabbed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only art story from Miami I remember. Now, here comes the most difficult question of the interview. I want you both to answer this. I always love stumbling the guests on this question. All right. You have a song like Relax that's just under a minute long, but you have a song like November that's 6 minutes long, a song like Protester that's 3 minutes long, Unstable that's 2.5. How do you guys know when a song is done? Who wants to go first?
I will, I guess, Chris. I mean, you can tell. You can feel it. Something like Unstable it's kind of ballistic and fast, and it feels like it's done. When it hits that end, it's hit the mark. Something like November, it's good to take some time and let that develop a little bit. So I would say just by pure feeling. I mean, Unstable would be rough if it went on for 7 minutes.
Yeah. I feel the same. I feel like it's a it is something you just kind of know, like, okay, that's the right structure. That being said, there's sometimes where it what we think is done is not really done. Like I know, like with Dead Sea, it was like Chris and I kind of built that out together, with a pretty firm structure, and then when we brought it into rehearsal, it changed. It was like all of a sudden it was through the process of rehearsing it became something else.
Yeah, and Chris Pravdika added the whole ending part on so he extended it a little bit, and so it's not always up to us.
Yep. And I have two more questions for you guys, but when it comes to playing material live, regardless if it's with Human Impact or any of your projects, is there maybe a similar energy into playing live as you do when you're writing music, or is it like almost a completely separate art that you have to master altogether?
I think for me personally, playing live is kind of the payoff to the whole recording process. I really like what I've been doing in quarantine, which is just writing initial ideas and throwing them at Jim. But to play live, that's sort of the sum of all that work. You finally get to play it. So, and just kind of do it once in front of people. So for me, as the show's going well, it's really the culmination of all that work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, playing live is kind of like surfing. You got to be in the moment, and got to be, you can't, if you think about it, it's going to crash. So it's like, I love that. And it's like, I love that being in the present. Writing it is more like this kind of investigative, creative act. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you I think you might have mentioned it, but you try to capture a moment with your songs, right, in Human Impact, right?
Oh, totally. Yes.
So do you find that like capturing a moment is more difficult depending on how long you work on a song? Because sometimes people are working on songs for days or weeks. So.
Oh, I mean, we don't work on them. I try not to overwork shit. I get to a point where I'm tired of hearing it. So, it's best to just get it dialed in as best you can, and what you basically would think is perfect, and then get it out. And not dwell on it for months. That's too much.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to take.
Yeah. And the final question I want to have is that you guys are based in the city, right? You guys started in New York City and everything like that?
Yeah, we started there and everything. I actually now live in Northern California, out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
And Jim's in New Jersey.
Okay, so you're pretty much under quarantine, virus or no virus, in the middle of nowhere, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, my life has not really changed much.
But being that the band started in New York City, I was curious was there kind of like a scene where you guys like going to old school hardcore shows and all that? Because I don't know what it is, but with especially listening to Human Impact, I get such a New York vibe from it. I don't know why, but like, is there like a New York City scene that you guys were always affiliated with?
Totally. Yeah, me and Jim were part of that early scene. The New York hardcore thing, I would go sometimes to the hardcore matinees at CV's on Sundays. And a lot of it was I wasn't really that into it, to be honest with you. A lot of it, I was kind of like, whatever. It just didn't seem that innovative to me. I would rather see somebody like early Sonic Youth or something really kind of off the wall at the time. We were in a scene like Cop Shoot Cop and Unsane and Pussy Galore all shared a practice space on Avenue B. We would play like the Pyramid or CB's a bunch. There was a definite scene going on around that time. It was New York was a different place. It was kind of more like the Wild West. And there was a lot of freedom. It was pretty lawless. And me and Jim and Phil are all definitely from there. So, I could see why that would ring true in the end result.
Yeah, I just thought that, like, because being, this is like, has this hardcore electronic vibe to it, but there's still something so raw about it that it just has that, like, real New York vibe to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you both so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion. Is there just anything with Human Impact you'd like to promote? I know, I'm knocking on wood that it doesn't get canceled, but you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, have a show with Yob in July?
Yep. We're supposed to be doing the shows we were doing with Yob in March. It got pushed to July, so hopefully that'll happen.
Okay.
And then we're looking at, it's a ways away, but we got this whole pandemic to deal with for a while. But we're looking at touring the States in September, and then Europe in November, December.
And in the meantime, we'll continue putting out new singles.
Awesome, and I look forward to hearing that. Please have some more music to keep us through quarantine. I already played the hell out of this one.
Awesome.
Yeah. Your record came out on Friday the 13th, and lo and behold, we're in the shittiest luck possible now. So.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much, everybody. We are here with Human Impact. Be sure to pick up the self-titled record if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.